We might have P and Z numbers. Come on, so I can always promote them over
Okay.
if you'd like, so that they can kind of be on the screen to.
Share. Share.
Do you
Shift.
know? We can look at participants. And attendees. So Carol and Jen, we can move them over to panelists. We'll go panelists and then they'll all focus. College Matters. So that's a.
Oh, yeah.
That's a policy council of this.
Yeah. Vision 3.
It's not, they help me to look.
I want separation.
This is wrong. Okay, don't forget others. And that's attending, you can kind of see, this is just somebody attending to watch. But if we get, oh. Is. Yeah, so are you still going to do state or no? You're.
Gerald Furland. I'm one of these.
So you're checking.
Working these illegal.
Here I am.
So that's Carol. Half my time.
No, it's not. I think, yeah.
He's raising his hand.
Yeah, I've allowed them to talk.
Hi, everyone.
It's College Matter. Only know me from TV
John Morgan.
screens.
John
John
Morgan,
Morgan.
College Matters.
Okay,
My wife.
how are you?
Okay.
You want me to review this too?
I couldn't figure out how to change his name.
All right, I'll promote you. There we go. More pins.
Okay.
Here you go. So I started telling you. Okay, so if anybody, if anybody shows up under this call, I will. Just give me the,
Number two.
give me the eye.
Okay, we're running a few minutes late. Taking. The certification of the election has happened, I see, right? That's good. Call the meeting to order at 4:06 p.m. We have approval of minutes of the September on the agenda. It says 9th, I believe it's the 17th. It could have been the 17th. It's my typo. So it's an adjustment to that. So we've circulated the minutes. They've been on the town website. Is there any corrections? Comments? Okay, in that case, all those who are in favor of accepting the minutes of the meeting, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any? David, do you need a few more minutes?
Just one, if you have something else you can do for a moment, sorry, I'm just trying to finish this one thing up real quick.
We will go on, just a matter that one of the issues that we are working on is improving our communications on what is going on in the town as far as affordable housing, and also to try to in some manner diffuse some of the misinformation about affordable housing that's going out there. We had and Michael Kaminsky here has been working on that. We decided to postpone it because of the change in when Mont vetoed the new housing plan. So we're going to wait until that is been cleared up. I understand that next week, or maybe the week after, I'm not sure, there'll be a special legislative session to approve or to vote on a new housing plan, but the details of which we are innocent of knowledge. So we will be putting that off for another week or two until we see what's happening there. And then one of the other things that Carol, if you can hear me, Carol and I agreed that we would be having a member or members of our committee to attend the working group as we go through the zoning regulations, so that we can be at least in the room when that's being discussed, and perhaps have a point of view on some of the things that we are focused on, like affordable housing. The member we had from our committee has resigned, so I am going to take her place. And so right now, they can be Anthony Alpo, Mark Edison, or the back. So then I'm going to turn it over to David now. You're all here to hear from David, so
Great, thank you. Where is it best if I sit
why
where?
don't you talk here?
Yeah, this is our camera and microphone on
Yep.
this side here.
Okay.
I can give you the.
Are you guys okay if I sit here? Is
You
that?
can sit there, please seen from here.
Yep. Okay, yeah, okay, cool. Hello, everybody. Nice to meet you all and see some of you again. So I'm David Corus. I'm the Executive Director of the Connecticut Municipal Development Authority, which is a quasi-public authority, which basically means we are a creature of the state, but we're not exactly the state. We are formed by state legislation, but we are not technically an agency of the state. I report to a board of directors, which includes 7 members of the governor's cabinet, so commissioners of transportation and economic and community development and energy and environmental protection, as well as some non-state government appointees, 3 of the governor, 6 of the legislature, 2 from Republican Party, 4 from Democratic Party. I say all this to say sometimes the state government sets up essentially a special purpose vehicle to achieve a particular objective. And we were set up to help communities develop housing around their train stations or in their downtowns. And so that is our exclusive purview, is to create a broad set of tools that can be deployed in support of towns and cities in that effort, specifically within a half a mile of transit, rail specifically, or within a walkable downtown. We do not technically have an affordability requirement per se, though we certainly encourage it, but we can be flexible. We can support market rate in some communities. We can support affordable in other communities. It's really whatever the community wants to achieve. We don't have any presuppositions. We don't have a goal for any individual municipality. We are meant to be a value add in your implementation of your plans and your goal. And the way that we do that is twofold: through technical assistance and through investment. And so we can provide planning support, zoning support, fiscal impact analysis, any number of things that help you all in your own decision making, or we can provide funding for implementation. And that is typically going to be in the form of grants for infrastructure directly to a municipality or one of its agents, or in the form of gap financing, typically a low interest loan directly to a developer. And so we have a $90 million allocation to do that. The way that process works is it is a voluntary relationship. And so the first step is that the municipality must raise their hand and say, we want to invite you in to work with us. There's no obligation at that step. There's no commitment, but it sends a signal to us that there is enough interest and a likelihood that we're going to continue down a similar path. And so we can start to spend the time and energy necessary to bring the partnership to fruition. We can theoretically, we are allowed to partner with 167 of the state's 169 municipalities. We cannot partner with Hartford and East Hartford because they have a separate entity that does some similar stuff called the Capital Region Development Authority. But we can only partner with communities that have either an existing or planned train or bus rapid transit station or a walkable downtown. So maybe of the 167, there's 100 or so that could partner with us given that criteria. As of this week, 30 have done so. And so we have 30 member municipalities who have joined the Municipal Development Authority. They are from all over the state. Some have train stations, some don't, some are wealthy, some are less so. Some are towns, some are cities, some have Republican leadership, Democratic leadership. It is absolutely a complete microcosm of the state as a whole. In your part of the world, Guilford has joined, Clinton has joined, Old Saybrook has joined. I am giving a presentation in Westbrook in 2 weeks, and they intend to join, and we're in conversations with Brantford. So you're in very good company on the shoreline, and I think part of why we see clusters of municipalities joining geographically. We have a robust cluster in the Naugatuck Valley over by Waterbury, Derby, Seymour, Beacon Falls, Naugatuck, Waterbury, Thomaston, and Plymouth, contiguous corridor. They all share the Waterbury branch in the same way that you all share Shoreline East. And they recognize that their collective story about their development potential and their housing production is a very strong case for service enhancements, more so than any one of them trying to make that case on their own. Obviously, this part of the world is very constrained without having wastewater treatment, and so we recognize that. I also believe that, part of my job is to help my peers in state agencies understand the very real constraints that you're operating under and make sure that we are helping you achieve goals that are realistic for your community and your infrastructure. So once a municipality opts in, we then take a look at your zoning, but exclusively within that target geography within your. I don't, I'm not going to look at your single family districts. I don't really, I might have I might care, but for the purpose of this job, I don't look at stuff in every corner. We would exclusively look at everything within a half a mile of the rail station. I think there's complete overlap between that and downtown. So that would be the one geography. Our statutory obligation is to certify whether or not a zone or multiple zones within that geography are likely to substantially increase housing stock. I tell every community what I will tell you now: don't get hung up on the word substantial. If you're allowing multifamily, the projects that I've seen, kind of on the north edge of downtown, that's substantial relative to your existing single family housing stock. Likely is the important word. We're going to take a look at the zoning and see whether or not there's stuff in there that could be a hang up and prevent developers from coming and implementing your vision or not. We will either certify a zone or zones that exist, or we'll have recommendations for how to make them more likely to result in your desired outcomes. If we have recommendations, those go to your zoning commission. We don't have any authority to force them upon you. We can't overrule. We don't usurp local control. If we have recommendations and you want that area covered by that zone to be eligible for our funding, you would have to take our recommendations, but you don't have to. It's a precondition to moving to the next step if we have them, but it's totally up to your local bodies to make that decision. If you either have zones that we certify as is, or we have recommendations and they're ultimately adopted by the zoning commission, then we enter into a memorandum of agreement with the chief executive officer of the municipality. I presume that's the first selectwoman.
Yes.
Have a town manager. Yeah.
Yeah.
So with the first selectwoman, that establishes the boundaries of the development district, and so that cannot go beyond a half a mile from the train station, and it can only cover areas that have zones that we've certified. So I can say with some level of confidence, a big chunk of the area within a half a mile of the rail station is zoned single family. That would not be within the development district. The portions of the area within a half a mile that have zones that are designed to enable some additional housing would be the confined geography. Once that boundary is set and once the development district exists, then the municipality can apply to us for funding for infrastructure that is designed to unlock some of that development potential, or any developer or property owner therein can apply directly to us. I often get asked about, well, does a developer have to go through the town? No, because they are going through your zoning, right? Just like they would go to a bank for financing, they're coming to us for financing. But the presumption is that they have to conform with the zoning that your commission or board has approved. The only other thing I'll add is, another big component of what we are looking to do with our member municipalities is to support them and their priority projects through the state permitting process. So if you've gone to, your lengths at the local level to get your regulations in place, I believe really strongly that we should match that effort at the state level. And it doesn't do us any good for you to say, this is the kind of housing we want in this location, find a developer, and then have them get hung up at subsequent state processes. And so we're very much looking to how we can align the state regulatory process so that it is as easy as possible for folks who are looking to implement your housing strategy. And with that, I'm happy to.
Oh, yeah, very question. I'd like a little bit more clarity on kind of the initial process. So
Yeah.
we're talking within a half a mile, with a radius of a half a mile of our train station. That's a circle.
Yes.
Then you look within that circle and decide on parts of it or all of it. I mean, in other words, what is that part of the process?
Yeah. So first step, Board of Selectmen votes, sends us the signal that
Invite you in.
invites us in. Then we draw that circle around the rail station, and just for sake of inclusivity, we will look at every zone that touches. And let's say that it touches 6 zones, 2 commercial zones or mixed use zones and 4 residential zones. And we will look at each of those, and let's say that we feel like we can certify 2 of those 6 and can't certify 4 of the 6. We would then sit down with staff and leadership and look at that map and say, okay, here's the geography covered by the 2 zones that we think we can certify. And they might say, perfect, let's make that be our district. Or they may say, that's good, but we have this site over here that we really think has potential, but it's in a zone that you haven't certified. What would it
Within your
take?
circle, though?
Within the circle, what would it take to get that zone certified? And we would say, well, you might have to tweak these 2 things, and then that would go to the zoning commission. But in the meantime, we could start with the other area. But long story short, we ultimately collaboratively identify what the boundaries are of the district that has zoning that we're comfortable with and also meets the priorities of the administration. Some communities, just to give you an example, this wouldn't be the case here, but some communities have multiple stations.
Mhm.
And in those early meetings, they say, we really only want to focus on this one. That's where we think the potential is. Okay, fine. We go where the municipality directs us. You've invited us in because there is some opportunity. We're not trying to tell you where that opportunity is, but we'll hone that together.
I have some other questions, but why don't we go either Jen or Carol or John? Anything from the video?
Yeah, I have a question, David, for just some, again,
Zoning plan.
I'm sorry, Mark, you were breaking up a little bit.
I'm just telling them, it's David, who you are.
Oh, thanks. Thank you. Yeah, Chair of P&Z. Could you just clarify for us what definitions or what terminology you use for these development districts? Because we have as Aaron can attest, many districts, I think within, many kinds of zoning, residential, commercial, light industry within a half mile of our train station, as well as a lot of wetlands.
Yep. So there are two terms within our statute. The first is housing growth zones, and then the second is development districts. And so the housing growth zones are going to be those local zones which we certify as likely to substantially increase housing. And so it would be one or more of those existing zones. It's not an overlay zone, it's not a rezoning, it's our certification of your zones. So we would ultimately send, a memo that says, okay, we've looked at R2, R3, B1, and B2, and we are certifying R2 and B1 as housing growth zones. That then defines the eligible geography that can be included within the development district, and the development district determines eligibility for funding.
Great, thank you. That's really helpful.
Sure. And happy to provide like an example from another community if that, is ultimately helpful.
Jen, do you have anything to say? Any questions here? Okay.
No, not.
John? John?
Yeah, so would we, you mentioned the issue with water treatment. If we, would you be able to cover something like supporting a septic or shared septic or sewer?
Yeah. So I should have said, and I'm sorry for skipping it. We are statutorily enabled to fund things that fall within one or more of 5 categories: technical assistance, transit-oriented development, which is statutorily defined as within a half a mile of a railway station, contributes to ridership. So that could be residential, commercial, it could vary depending on the location. Housing, building demolition or rehabilitation, or development or redevelopment. So it's obviously very broad. And communities typically ask, can you fund remediation? Can you fund wastewater treatment? Even in places with sewer is still an issue and a constraint. And I will tell you what I tell all of them. Yes, but first, I'm going to go with you to Department of Public Health and DEEP and help them understand why an investment in infrastructure like that is well designed to unlock some potential. But if for whatever reason they can't, we could be the funder for that. I just too want to just manage expectations to some degree, right? Wastewater treatment is obviously incredibly expensive. We only have $90 million. We expect we will continue to get more, but I do think on the wastewater treatment question more broadly, our bigger value is going to be helping you tell the story in a way that makes clear to the other investment agencies the value of contributing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Is there a typical or average package for towns like us that tell us what's all would be in it typically, or again, size and amounts? It varies so that much.
Yeah, and every community is at a different stage. So, of the 30 communities who have joined so far, there's probably a half a dozen of them or so where our assistance is going to be planning and analysis and helping them craft their strategy.
Okay.
There's others where infrastructure is the big constraint. And then there's others where they've got their plan in place, they've got their infrastructure in place, but there's a market failure and development just needs subsidy to happen. And so
So the variability is broad.
Very.
Right, and is the 90 million like a per year thing?
So the 90 million is 3 years
3 years.
at 30 million a year,
Okay,
which brings us to June of 27.
okay.
So we have a year from before we were, so I didn't say this at the outset because it's not super relevant, but it'll help answer this question. The statute that enables us was actually passed in 2019.
Oh.
And it was initially exclusively for cities with populations of greater than 75,000. It was not funded and it wasn't stood up, and COVID created obvious distractions. And so the statute was revisited in 2023. It was opened up to more communities. More of the planning and technical assistance piece was added in, and we were funded. And then it took another year in 2024 for the board to meet for the first time. And so
Approve it all.
and get us started. So I was hired as the first employee in August of 24. So we're just about a year in. So that's 30 million from fiscal 24, 30 million from fiscal 25, 60 million available to us today. We will get another 30 million in fiscal 27 in July of next year. And then the expectation is, and I could say based on the significant uptake, I think it is a very pleasant, indicator that we already have 30 municipalities signed up. And so, that will be a strong argument for continued investment.
And you haven't done any disbursements as yet?
No, we expect that we will do our first project disbursements at our December or our January board meeting.
Thank you, Michael. That was the question. As well. Thank you.
David, I have a question for our planning and zoning commissioners.
Yes.
Who are here today. There, did you have a handout? Oh, I thought you did, Bob. So the commission is beginning a comprehensive update and review of their zoning regulations. What recommendation would you make if, this to me a little bit is two different authorities kind of working in the municipality as far as the Board of Selectmen opting in, but the Planning and Zoning Commission independently having to have regulations that would cater to being part of this. So what kind of advice would you give them as they're looking at their regulations, knowing that the Board of Selectmen may decide to opt in?
Yeah. So, I'll be honest and say we don't have enough capacity for me to really dig in prior to an opt-in. But if the Board of Selectmen were to opt in, knowing that you have a zoning update pending or underway, we could absolutely kind of prioritize engagement with members of the commission to start to look at it and make some recommendations as part of that process. Because we absolutely would want to avoid a process concluding and then us coming in and saying, oh, if only you had done X, Y, and Z.
So, just generally speaking, is the agency looking for more as of right, like streamlining permit processes?
So we look at both process and parameters, right? So we look at things like height limit, setback, parking, etc. But there aren't hard and fast rules, right? We don't say, oh, your parking requirement has to be below X or your height has to be above Y. We look at that, and frankly, it's a little bit subjective, but we kind of say, do these add up to something that someone can work with? If there's one thing that maybe is not ideal, okay, someone could work around that. But if there's like 4 things that start to constrain the development envelope in a way that it's impossible, then we would make a recommendation. On process, to be totally honest, right, there's very few communities that allow development truly as of right. right? And as much as we will encourage that, we recognize that that's not a standard that we can realistically hold folks to. Where we would look, though, is to say, okay, if it's subject to a special permit and subject to a public hearing and subject to design guidelines that are very subjective, okay, well, that sets up a condition where this could get drawn out, there could be difference of opinions, and it's hard. If it's, we have design guidelines, they're incredibly clear, this is what the standards are, and it's subject to a special permit, okay, well, but we know how the person or how the project is going to be gauged. So I don't know, hopefully that helps to kind of understand it's the sum total of all of it, but we do try and identify if there's, you know, red flags that could really hang up a development, or more likely, frankly, cause a developer just to say, I'm not gonna start to put money into this because I don't know where it's gonna end up.
So this is not just housing growth, but it's also what things that could increase ridership.
Yes.
And so the area we're looking at is our downtown commercial district.
Yep.
Which is a very limited commercial area, and that I think has been an age-old question of allowing multifamily versus commercial, you
Yep.
know, only allowing residential above the first floor to provide that downtown walkability
Yep.
and things like that. Are those things right off the bat that are frowned upon?
No.
I mean, we've kind of seen that legislatively.
Yeah. No, not at all.
And so that's our.
No, I mean, and that makes us a little bit unique kind of within the housing programs is we are not just housing for housing's sake. Which is important, it's an acute crisis, but we are housing as a component of downtown and transit oriented and economic development. And so mandating commercial activity on the ground floor, absolutely. But you know, I will push back if the zoning says the commercial component of the building must be at least 50% of gross floor area,
That's in our other zone.
because that's probably not realistic, right? So, you know, we're not, it is absolutely housing as a means to and within the context of downtown transit oriented and economic development.
Okay, so it's not specifically affordable housing
No.
related, but I guess that would be,
But it could be.
you know,
Could be.
exactly,
Could be.
yeah, there
Absolutely.
there is an avenue for
Yeah.
affordable housing.
Yep.
committee
And if
to
you,
advocate.
you know, for example, so if, and I don't know, I haven't taken a close look at the zoning, but like, if you have an inclusionary zoning policy where you require some percentage of the units, then any project that comes to us would have to abide by that. We would also, you know, some communities, a community has said to us, you know, we think we've got zoning, we're trying to allow this stuff, but we don't understand why no one's building it. And we'll look at, well, maybe the inclusionary percentage is a little bit too high, right? It's a great objective. And yes, as much as possible, you want to leverage the private investment and the market rate units to deliver affordable units instead of having to directly subsidize them. But maybe you're requiring 30% and the market can only bear 18. And we could help with that analysis if that ends up being like the pain point. But our primary objective at the outset is to get a good enough understanding of each community that we figure out what the hurdle is and then do whatever we can to overcome that hurdle. In some places it's regulation, in some places it's infrastructure, in some places it's strategy, in some places it's market and financing, and in some places it's multiple of those things. And we're designed to help figure that out and then address it.
What do? You mentioned a couple of times the market.
Yeah.
How do you know the market is?
Yeah.
How do your group, I mean, how can you help us
Yeah.
understand what that is?
Yeah, sure. So we have in-house expertise, but we have a very deep bench of 17 on-call consultants who have different expertise and capacity, some of whom are explicitly around market and fiscal impact of development and the financial side. Yeah. And if that's what's of particular need to better understand, we can.
Well, we don't do that, so.
Yeah.
You know, we're more along, as I'm sure most places are, you try to build it, and if it works, it works, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. You know, and I don't think we have a policy.
Yeah, well, I think even our downtown, I mean, we've heard at least even from some of the housing conversations that the Planning and Zoning Commission has had, that people don't want to change downtown, it's dense enough, it's this. So I think there may be targeted areas that, you know, I think we do have some soil challenges down there. I mean, there's a lot of field wetlands in the downtown area. And I think people worry as far as what else you can add in this limited area and what that would mean. So I do think there is a desire to maintain control.
Mhm.
And I don't know if that's something that, I mean, you opt into these areas, right? You have certified regulations, and then if there's a legislative change that mandates that now you have to have as of right 6 to 8 units and things like that in that area.
Yeah.
The work that we've gone through to kind of
Yeah, for sure. So,
structure these regs are
um,
now overridden.
so obviously I can't speak for future actions of the General Assembly, but, you know, the governor believes really strongly in providing tools and resources and rewards to communities that are proactively trying to help address these challenges that we face as a state. I think it's highly unlikely that the General Assembly would leverage the partnerships that we have built with municipalities to then force them to do something that they wouldn't. It would be incredibly counterproductive.
But it still could happen that there's a legislative override of our
There
regulations
absolutely could
after.
be a legislative override that has nothing to do with your
Yeah.
involvement with CMDA.
And there's no exemption for those,
And
so
there-
that carrot doesn't
Correct.
work for those
Correct.
communities who have partnered in.
Correct. But the more detailed work that we might have done together might demonstrate why that one size fits all top-down solution doesn't work in this place.
Okay.
Yeah. Listen, I think there is a very development economics are very tricky right now, right? Cost of construction is astronomical, cost of land is astronomical. You're trying to achieve other public benefits like affordability, which makes it even more difficult because you're constraining the revenue side of the equation. It is possible that the lack of wastewater treatment prevents the density of development that is necessary to enable it to take place. You know, that's a question that I'd love to help you answer and figure out, because if so, then you should all know that. If not, then it'll give us direction to the handful of sites that can actually work.
And that's the technical assistance.
Yeah.
Aspect of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is free, or you, not free to you, but free to us.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, for the most part, I mean, we will be providing some level of technical assistance for free to every municipality. As towns and cities make requests that go beyond and get a little bit more in depth,
Customization.
there will be some cost share to be determined.
Carol?
Yeah, thanks. Madison has a reputation of doing a lot of studies and then not following through and doing implementation. And that applies to this area within a half mile of the train station. So would you look at all the previous studies and you know, it sounds like it would be really helpful to us to have those updated and in alignment with the current updates that and revisions we're making to our zoning regs.
Yeah, absolutely. So I haven't told you anything about myself, but I've been doing this kind of stuff for 20 years, mostly in the public sector, but a little bit in the civic sector and the consulting world. And at one point in my career, I and my colleagues were asked to do a master plan for a city that had a new mayor. And we ultimately came back and said, you don't actually need a new plan. What you need is someone to take a fresh look at the 50 plans that you've done over the last 15 years. Make sure we agree, the stuff that we agree on gets highlighted and prioritized, make sure we identify where the gaps are and fill them in. And ultimately, in lieu of doing a plan, we had a 3-day workshop in Charette with the authors and consultants and staff members and community leaders who had worked on all the previous plans, and ultimately pulled out like the 10 priorities, 8 of which were from prior plans and 2 of which were gaps that hadn't been addressed. And I'm a strong believer in starting with what's already been done.
How long does the process take?
Yeah, so
For that evaluation,
Yeah.
mounting, and just if we're timing.
yeah, so right now, you know, to be honest, there's like a little bit of a kind of misalignment between the size of the pipe and the stuff trying to get through it. So we're tracking right now about 6 months. My goal is to get that down to 3. But again, if you have a pending kind of zoning thing, we could do it in 3 or 4.
Okay. Francine?
Question.
Yeah.
The mission, I guess, or whatever the goal of your.
Yeah.
Uh,
Authority.
authority, yeah,
Yeah.
of being transit.
Yeah.
Oriented and that being within a half mile of the town
Yeah.
train station. So is this is the purpose that if the more towns that you can get to do that, then that will justify increasing the number of trains? I mean, what's the chicken, what's the egg?
Yep.
Because I've been sitting on this committee for 3 years now, and that's the constant, oh, well, we need to do everything within 2 steps of the train station. And I look around and I say to myself, but I don't quite understand this intense drive for that, because we aren't a commuter town. In fact, today I wanted to put my grandson on a train to go to South Norwalk. And if you're not on the train by 10:30 in Madison, it's not happening.
Yep.
I can go to Guilford at 12:30 and then we're to 5 o'clock. So
Yep.
Explain to me how this is so urgent.
Yeah. So first, we can operate within a mile of a train station or in a walkable mixed use downtown. And I think you have the benefit of there being significant overlap between those 2 things. It could ultimately be a justification for enhanced service. And a lot of places around the state are hopeful of that. I can't commit to that. I can't promise that, but I can absolutely promise that we would articulate it to the Department of Transportation in a way that they understand. But many trips, the vast majority of trips, are not work trips, particularly so in a post-COVID age. So being within walking distance of some amenities and some, you know, retail and resources is almost more important, if not as important. And so the way that I would look at a community like Madison is there is great benefit from having modest additional development clustered within walking distance of retail and amenities. And that could be a longer term justification for enhanced rail service, which even if never for commuting, you know, going into New Haven to the theater, going to New London to catch the ferry, right? I mean, there are other things that you could do, but I don't, for shoreline communities, I wouldn't say that would be the top priority, but more a co-benefit. But being in a walkable mixed use neighborhood is higher priority.
Any other comments? questions for David? I think, I mean, there's a lot of, there are some, and Aaron brought up a number of the issues that, of course, we have, and of course, no one wants to change anything in this town. I mean, that's the first step, and any, if a tree comes down, so there's to be a group around it to try to save it. And I think that in this case, the initial help, where we can have some actual, people technically coming in and looking at what we have and trying to evaluate it independently of the political process, which has to be the case in town, would be a good thing. I mean, and then we go from there and see what happens after that.
But in order to get to that point, you have to make the changes to your zoning regulations
No, I mean, what
first.
they
You have
have,
to be certified, right, in
Not-
No.
established
I don't-
developments.
do that up, David. I don't think so.
Not necessarily. So that is the right question. And it's one that we are just starting to encounter, which is, what is the level of support that we are able or willing to provide to help a community get to a district rather than implement a district? You would not be alone in that. There are, as I think I said at the outset, maybe there's a half a dozen or so of those 30 that are in that kind of same situation. I think it'll come down to, having to figure out sort of what it entails versus what the potential outcome could be. I mean, I think gauging the political commitment to take recommendations seriously is part of that equation. I think the fact that you have precedent studies, right? We wouldn't be starting from scratch, but rather building off a foundation means that first effort is less intensive than if we were kind of in a place where that work hadn't been done. I mean, that's a longer answer than you're looking for, but it is not a no. It is not we're not going to help and provide technical assistance unless you have zoning that enables a district. But yes, let's all be kind of eyes wide open. Yeah, if we've got dozens of communities and some of them, are enabling a lot of units and have their zoning in place and need certain help, helping other communities get to a point that's, comparable, it'll be, it'll be judged accordingly. But, I'm very, you'll learn, I'm very optimistic, I'm very aspirational, right? If we can't do it, then I'm going to be going to the legislature and saying we need more resources, because look at these communities that want to do the right thing and are asking us for help to even get to a district, and we can't yet help them because we need more resources. So it's not going to be a no, it's going to be a no, but let's try and figure out how.
Well, let me, go ahead, Michael.
There's really point of information to it from Aaron. What half a mile from the railroad do we currently have zoning in place that would allow housing in some section of that half mile circle?
Yeah, the downtown district, the commercial downtown district has ability for multifamily.
Right, I mean, along Bradley, there are some, right?
Yeah, it's limited.
Yeah.
I feel like we're on the limited side as far as
Okay, and then
being able to be certified.
the follow-up to that is, because I don't know where we are in, with Carol and her committee. What are the prospects of planning and zoning being updated and changed the next 3 months, the next year, the next 2 years? Because, kind of what we've been talking about is, if there are some areas that qualify, but planning and zoning committee and commission are actually really knee deep in looking at this question and either expanding or not, that may address the timing.
And it could be, and just to be clear, it could be incremental, right? There's no prohibition or limitation on changing district boundaries. There are some communities we're working with where they want their district to include everything they can, but we've only certified one zone in that area. And those 15 acres that are covered by that one zone are the district today, under the expectation that over time, they're going to incrementally tweak the around surrounding zoning, and we will expand the district accordingly.
So where are we on that process?
The commission has not gone into specific policy, housing policy discussions yet. We are in the early phases of our zoning regulation update. Really kind of logistically planning how we're codifying the regs to be accessible online. And so in order to do that and sort of track our process throughout so that we can find all the old regulations in the online software, we are reorganizing our current regulations under a new table of contents. And then the commission will then, we'll go through with just legal updates and just general things that are outdated, statutory updates, things like that. And then there's a lot of the regulations are not changing. They're going to be a little more user-friendly, reorganized. There are some, a handful of those policy items. Housing clearly is one of them. Knowing this interest in the downtown area, the downtown commercial district should be. To the same effect, the design standards for our village district there should be looked at as well. To make sure that they're clear and not creating unnecessary roadblocks. But I think, as you said, Mark, people don't like change. So when you start proposing housing changes, we have to kind of bring folks along through this process and the reasons why we want to do that, which is why we've had those housing conversations.
Erin, I'd just like to add that Madison's strategic plan and our plan of conservation and development both support us moving in this direction. So, on a sort of our own aspirational level, I think we're already there.
For the housing, you mean, or for the updating of the reg?
For promoting housing and development within a half mile of our train station. Yeah.
As does the affordable housing plan from 4 years.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah, overall, I think from start to finish, we're looking at probably an 18-month process.
Yeah.
On the max side for that. So I know we have other volunteer committees who are eager to provide insight and, feedback of what they recommend for the regulations. We're just not quite there to that point yet of requesting those regulations.
I'm sure there's plenty of volunteer.
I mean, you're welcome to start them. I mean, there's no reason you can't start.
No, I'm sure
looking
there's
at
a lot of people who
examples,
like to contribute. So, any other questions for David? So the first step is the Board of Selectmen has to decide to invite. Then
Yeah, and
conversations occur after that, and then.
Yeah. And I have given an introductory presentation to them, I think.
Yes,
right?
and Jen is a member of our
Yep.
Board of Selectmen
Yep.
as well. So yes, so far you've met with Board of Selectmen
Yep.
and then this invite from the affordable
Yep.
housing, which I thought just for the interest of time, we'd
Yeah,
get P and Z in here too,
No,
so
it's
you don't
perfect.
have to make 3 trips down. But I think this was a good opportunity for the housing conversation, because you need, P and Z commissioners need to have this in the back of your mind.
Yeah, it's great.
Absolutely. I'm glad you guys came. And you get your meeting canceled tomorrow.
Okay, if there's nothing else for David, thank you, David.
Yeah.
Very much appreciate you coming in.
Yeah, sure thing.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, cheers. Good job.
Important work.
Yep.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
How are you? Be in touch.
Yep. Talk soon.
Yep.
Bye.
Thanks,
Thank you,
David.
David. Sounds a little bit like that's free money. There aren't a lot of free lunches. So.
No. Free lunch. Exactly.
It sounds very, to me, it sounds very good for the town to be able to look at it from a more comprehensive standpoint. As far as affordable housing is concerned, we obviously would be wanting to make sure that that is considered as part, a component of whatever would be.
Well, yeah, I mean, exactly, if housing is a priority of the town and making housing options for all, right, moving forward, then if we want to change our regulations to essentially incentivize development in the transit area, we should want to ensure that there is some type of affordability component, whether it's density bonuses or something like that, that at least is achieving the goals of the various.
And there's also the possibility of, because it's affordable, there might be a possibility, depending what the legislature does, that there might be more money for development that include something like that, right?
Yeah.
Lowering their costs, because that would lower your revenue. So I think that would be.
We should know more a month from now.
Sorry?
We should know more
Yeah, I hope
after
so.
this legislative session.
Drifting on, yeah, so I don't really know. I have no new information.
heard
Last thing I
any.
heard was the 17th of November was going to be. I don't know what that means. That was 2 weeks ago. Sure. And there's been no, as far as I know, there's no mention of what the components of such a draft plan would be. So to see. We just have a few more things to wrap up here. Number one is the Housing Trust Fund. One of the recommendations we've made so far informally to Peggy and Aaron has seen it. And I think Jen has seen it. I'm not sure if any of the other board of selectmen have seen it, but it's a proposal to create a housing trust fund that can accept as a separate fund within town, controlled by the town, under the board of selectmen, but basically operating outside of the normal budget. And that plan can accept money or land, or almost anything actually, including earns interest on whatever money they may have. There's big issues about funding and questions about how we head on that. But our argument has been and will be that this is a shell, if you will, what we to create some opportunity. Without that shell, it's very difficult to imagine how we can create the opportunity to lower costs for developers is willing to include affordable housing as part of their plan, or even to create a affordable housing units by itself, as the Wellington down the road on Cottage Road. So I believe we're going to. I didn't see the email from Peggy yet, so it says
Just came just about 4
right. So
o'clock.
can you tell me what it said?
I think we can read it.
Oh,
No, I just got it when I was walking also.
next Wednesday, week from tomorrow. Okay, so then I guess the next steps on the housing trust fund would be for us to meet with Peggy, and I expect Aaron as well.
Oh, is that at the board of selectmen meeting? Let me see.
I don't think.
Yeah.
Is it at the board of selectmen on Wednesday? They meet on Tuesdays?
Oh, Veterans Day. So
Oh,
we're
because
closed
of that.
Tuesday, so the meeting
Because of that.
is Wednesday. So the one item that we had in sharing the draft plan would be that the committee make a motion to move that with suggestions. There were some edit suggestions as far as
I haven't seen those.
the mostly the word Guilford. You know, so using the Guilford example as a template, kind of cleaning that up, going through a search, making sure that Guilford reference anywhere else in the document, send a clean copy to the Board of Selectmen to then review. And then she said if that, you know, if the committee's schedule works, she'll add it on as a discussion item at the 8 a.m. Remote Board of Selectmen meeting next Wednesday.
Good. So that this is just saying this is
Instead.
on the 17th.
Now it's
Next
12.
Wednesday is-
That's
Yeah. No, it's not. gonna be-
12,
This is-
7, 12.
The 12th is the Board of Selectmen meeting, and your next meeting is the 9th.
That's where, am I confused? Were we doing, had we had a date with the Board of Selectmen and now it's different?
I think Peggy mentioned a date in November
Yes.
after the election, but now
Now
it's
it's-
confirmed for
Okay.
next Wednesday at 8 a.m., which I invite you all to join. Zoom meeting is completely, it's all
It's all remote, that Board of
Okay.
Selectmen meeting. The first meeting of the month is the remote.
always remote.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's where we are in that.
And it looks like you're all copied on that email. So,
Okay,
Oh,
yeah.
And the,
I'll send it to you.
the only other thing we got on the agenda is talking about meetings for 26. And we've been meeting on the first and third Wednesday of every month. And I think that may be too often, and I'm going to suggest that we meet on the third Wednesday of every month. Any comments, Francine, Michael?
My only comment, I agree with you. But once a month, I think right now is sufficient.
It's until we get,
And I don't have a problem with being the third Wednesday as opposed to the first Wednesday.
I just picked one.
But I would actually start that before the end, before.
But we can do that, but we already have, in other words, unfortunately, this is sort of a policy, we already have a schedule, so we have to then cancel our meeting and then go on from there. So from a practical standpoint, but in 26, we can then schedule them that way, they're
Okay.
officially scheduled, so.
Okay,
You wanted to make that motion, I'm happy to amend the calendar to eliminate
Yes.
the first
if you would.
Wednesday and then send it out to you and send a copy to the clerk.
Okay, well, that'd be great for the rest of the year. As much as this year.
Well, for 26, but if
20%, what we're gonna do is we will cancel one meeting, unless there's some reason to not do it. We will cancel one meeting that is on the 25 schedule. To
I
have
can do
only
both.
one meeting a month.
I can do both, I can edit your 25 schedule, but also the draft
She could.
Word document.
As work right now. No, but if I'm understanding Erin, she's saying we can make that 2026 schedule. We can also just start it December. She just tell her now and she'll cancel the meetings is not. what I'm saying.
Yeah, so that would be the December 3rd meeting you want canceled.
And I think that we probably would want to not cancel that meeting, we would cancel the end of the 17th.
17th.
The holiday, yeah,
It's
closer to the
holidays.
holidays. Okay, so. And you want to cancel the second meeting this month,
Yes.
the 19th?
And then if we have, we get some information from the state as to what they're going to be doing, we may, put that over to the next month. We'll see what happens. But we don't think we're going to get any more information, at least until the end of the month. That I believe. So that is the agenda. Anyone have any questions or comments or criticism?
Thank you for inviting us. Here we
Yeah,
go.
thank you.
You're very welcome to every meeting you want to come to, too. As a matter of fact, I think, our interests are really aligned, and so it's just a question of, how do we do the process? So, all right. Then the meeting is agended at 5:05. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Good to see everyone.
Good to see you. What's that mean? Money?
She got me in trouble.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, exactly. It was him. Yeah. Yes, all right.
Yeah.
So